All right, so today we're going to tackle a classic, almost maddening problem from physics. But trust me on this one, it's a rabbit hole that goes somewhere so much stranger than you might expect. Let's just dive right in.
It really sounds like the setup to some kind of cosmic joke, doesn't it? You've got 3 planets in this gravitational dance. Then you have the completely bizarre behavior of a single quantum particle and the totally private inner world of your own consciousness. It seems random, but by the end of this, you're going to see how they might just be different sides of the exact same mystery.
Okay, so first things first, we need to ground ourselves in something concrete. We're going to start with a problem that has absolutely tormented mathematicians and physicists for centuries. It's this beautiful, perfect question that just has no clean answer. On the surface, it sounds pretty simple, right? You've got 3 things. Let's say a star and 2 planets. You know their mass, you know where they are, you know how fast they're going. All you have to do is predict where they'll be in the future using Newton's laws. Should be easy, shouldn't it? Well, no, not even close. And this is where it gets wild. You see, with just 2 bodies, like the Earth and the Sun, the math is, well, it's elegant. You get these predictable, stable orbits. We can write down a nice, clean equation that just describes the whole thing perfectly. But the second you add just one more body to the mix, the whole system just collapses into chaos. There's no general solution. The elegant dance becomes this totally unpredictable brawl. And this is the universe basically handing us a lesson. The problem isn't that our math failed, it's the universe telling us, hey, some parts of reality just can't be squeezed into a neat formula. To know what happens next, you have to compute every single tiny step along the way. There are no shortcuts. And that one-way nature of it, that's our first big clue.
Okay, so let's jump to the next section and see how this gets even weirder. We're going to take that idea, this irreversible one-way process, and we're going to connect it to the strangest part of physics we know. We're going into the quantum world. Just think about it for a second. With that 3-body system, you can simulate it going forward, but you can't easily hit rewind and find the exact starting conditions. It's a one-way street. Well, it turns out, in quantum physics, there's a process that is famously, fundamentally one way. The simple act of looking at something, of measurement.
So, before you look, a quantum particle is kind of living in this haze of possibilities. It's called a superposition, where it's in many states all at once. But the moment you observe it, that whole cloud of possibilities just collapses into one single definite reality. And you can't undo it. You can't unsee it to get the haze back. Information has been lost forever. It's a one-way translation from this rich quantum state to a simple, boring, classical fact.
So this leads us to this really powerful analogy. Let's imagine that the full, unobserved quantum state is like a secret, private computation happening in a space we can't fully get to. And the measurement, what we see, is the public result. So, what's the key that unlocks it? And here it is. This is the big leap. What if the private key isn't some piece of information? What if it's something you are? What if it's your own subjective, first-person experience? I mean, think about the incredible richness of your own inner world, your thoughts, your feelings, the actual experience of seeing the color red. That is fundamentally private, right? You can try to describe it with words, those are our measurements, but that description will never, ever capture the full reality of the experience itself. The meaning can't be perfectly transferred. It's another one-way street from experience to expression.
Now, I know this all might seem really abstract and out there, but there's a simple, powerful example that brings it right back down to earth. We can't solve the 3-body problem on paper, but we can juggle 3 balls.
Think about it. Your brain and your body, they're not sitting there solving complex equations. They are tackling a real-time, chaotic problem through embodied action. The knowledge isn't symbolic. It lives inside the doing. You don't know the solution, you are the solution, computing it forward one tiny moment at a time. It is a completely different kind of computation. So if we can actually embody solutions to these impossible problems, and if consciousness is a kind of private key, what on earth does that say about reality itself? This next part, this is where we push the whole analogy to its most radical conclusion. What if we have been looking at this all wrong from the very beginning? Maybe the problem isn't about 3 objects floating in a void. Maybe it's about 3 distinct perspectives, 3 subjective boundaries that are all trying to negotiate a shared reality. Each observer has its own private key, its own unique experience. Okay, here's a wild analogy for you. Think of reality like a blockchain. It's not a smooth, continuous movie. It's a series of distinct events or blocks. And each block only gets locked in when different observers agree on what happened. It's a kind of consensus mechanism. And that consensus crystallizes the event into the irreversible record we call the past. In this view, reality isn't pre-written. It's being negotiated moment by moment.
So how do these identities even work? Okay, imagine throwing some stale water out of a bowl. At first, it clings together, right? It resists the forces trying to pull it apart. It holds its identity as one blob for as long as it possibly can. And then, all of a sudden, it hits a critical point and snap. It reorganizes into two separate, stable blobs. It's not a gradual split. It's a discrete, sudden decision. This idea, it's called hysteresis, and it is everywhere. You see it in phase transitions in physics, you see it in market crashes. Systems just resist change. They want to maintain their identity. But if you push them too far, they discreetly reorganize into a new, stable state. Boundaries, it turns out, are stubborn. So let's bring it all home. We started with 3 bodies in space, and now we're talking about quantum private keys, embodied computation, and a negotiated reality. What does all of this mean for our original, unsolvable problem? And here it is. This is the complete inversion of the problem. We didn't fail to solve the 3-body problem. We created an unsolvable problem with our own assumptions. We demanded a single predictable answer from a framework that doesn't actually exist out there in the universe. You see, the whole problem is built on these false assumptions. It assumes there's some God's eye view that no observer can actually have. It assumes there's a single absolute now for everyone, which relativity proves just isn't true. It assumes that predictability is the rule, not the exception. And most importantly, it assumes we're just passive observers, when quantum mechanics seems to be screaming that we are anything but. What this really means is that reality isn't some movie being played back for us. There is no script. It's much more like an improvisational performance, with the universe creating itself locally, moment by moment. Causality just pushes forward, and the future literally does not exist until it is computed into being. And that is the ultimate cosmic joke. We spent centuries trying to be these perfect, objective observers, discovering the final truth of a clockwork universe, and the universe just pulled the rug right out from under us. It told us that reality is probabilistic, it's observer-dependent, and it's fundamentally undefined until an observation forces it to take a stand. Which leaves us with this one final thought to chew on. We wanted to be the audience, just watching the cosmic play. But the universe seems to be telling us that we're actually on the stage, co-authoring the script as we go. So what does it mean if our very active observation isn't just seeing the world, but is actually helping to create it?